Yo, SMT Nation, what is going on? Yeah, these beats, man. Tana's so lit. Always with the best. Always with the fire. Alright, good to see you all. Glad you could be here this evening for the live stream. Let me just turn down the music just a bit as we welcome everyone to the show. We did do a live stream on Friday. It was a pretty good show. You know, check it out if you missed it. You know, it's their, they do DVR for replay. So, hashtag replay crew on that one. If you are here in the live, it is September 20th, 2020. At the time of this recording, 8:33 p.m. I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of friendly faces that are here. And just go ahead and turn this down just a smidge. I don't want it to compete with my voice. Let me know if I sound good. Let me know if audio quality is there. Maybe make sure the music isn't too loud and make sure my voice is clear and loud for you to hear. So give me a sound check. I'll be turning on video in just a second. I do want to say hi to everyone here in the live stream. Kathy, Keemon, hashtag Mod Squad. Good to see you both. Gina's here. Damien's in the house. We have Tyler. Big shout out to TM, my dude. Kazzy is here. Lawrence, big shout out to you. Hashtag Mod Squad. We also have the brother Tito in the house. Good to have you as well. The brother Alex is here as well. Arshan is here. John is in the house. Kazzy, if I forgot you, I'm sorry. There you go. Got you. Willie Watson is here. The homie info assistant is here. Wolfer is in the house. Los, my brother, what is up? Testing is here. Glad you guys could stop by. Shan's in the house. My brother Caleb is here as well. And Jose. Good to have my brothers here. The homie Teletech is in the house in full effect. 2 podcasts in one day. Ain't that right, Teletech? I hope you enjoyed the show earlier. It was good to have you and kind of chiming in on some of those topics. We talked a lot about Dish and what they were doing. Huge developments at Dish. Their network plan is really starting to come together. If you are interested in checking that video out, that podcast, all you got to do is become a patron. To become a patron, there are links in the description box of how you can get access to all of that exclusive content, all the Patreon exclusive podcasts and live streams, the weekly uploads, the early access. There's tons and tons of perks there. And to become a part of that, hey, hit the Patreon page. Link in the description. Sean is here. Brandon's in the house. Good to see you both. Gwendolyn is here. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, Tech Lover Mama TLM is in the house. Yeah, good to be here and good to have you here with us. Jason is in the house. Bill Tech. Yeah. Brandon is here. Chief. Long live the Chief. Max, Jessica, it is good to see you. Jess, haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well. Joshua's here. Ernesto as well. Barry's in full effect. Willie is here. GS in the house. SMT Nation well represented. MS as well. All right, so let me go ahead and let's slide over. Start of the show. Yeah. Welcome to the Sneed Tech Podcast. We're doing it live today. We always do. Yeah, hashtag Voltron status indeed. What's up, Brian? Good to see you. The homie Paul is here. Paul, I wanted to thank you for your recent donation. You gave it like right at the end of the last live stream. So big shout out to you and thank you for doing that. Stories for today on the podcast. We have a lot, actually. Some good stuff. Some really interesting things. Legal things are going on. We got the liar sandwich. That returns. And, we'll talk about some other things. And then, we'll do the Q&A piece. As people have questions, we'll try to answer as much as we can for them. So, I was listening to one of my podcasts. I don't know, man. It might have been like a couple of weeks ago. And I've been kind of like raw dogging it lately. No windscreen, pop filter or anything. And I've been trying to utilize certain microphone techniques to reduce the need for that. But I've noticed that there was still some popping and some extra sound. So I've gone back to the old, put the pop screen back on. So hopefully that's helping the sound quality. My brother TK is in the house. Big shout out to you, man. Thanks for stopping by, bro. Keon is here, my brother. Good to see you as well. I think I got everybody. Ead's in the house. Good to see you. Glad you could be here. All right. Might as well just jump into it, right? So that way we're not here forever. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Get you some important info. I will be recording for the for the audio-only podcast version of this, so you guys can check that out as well. If you don't like, if you don't like necessarily watching YouTube for a podcast, you actually want like the audio version of it, there's all types of different platforms that do carry our podcast. So check out the SMT Weekly Report, or excuse me, SMT Wireless Weekly Report. So check that out. Yeah, the lying sandwich, Will Tech. I'll tell you what that's all about in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. To start things off with the podcast, actually, what I want to do is just update, to what's going on with some smartphones. Anytime there's a big update to a specific phone model, I'd like to throw it out there in case it helps somebody who doesn't know what was going on. The T-Mobile variant for the Samsung A71 5G is now receiving an update that provides the phone with standalone 5G support. Regardless of where you stand on the actual standalone 5G support from T-Mobile, now your next security patch is going to include that. So fresh off the heels of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus 5G getting that same update, what's coming in the September security patch, you're going to get obviously a bunch of upgrades and updates and stuff like that. You're going to get the standalone 5G capability. You're going to get your security patch and, whatever other camera improvements and app integrations, all the system updates as well. From what I understand, it's about 400 megabytes in size, so it's a sizable upgrade, to the software. So make sure on Wi-Fi, if you've got one of those like really sensitive data plans or deprio situations going on. So, check your settings, hit the update button, go ahead and install that, and do report back. Let me know. Let me know on Twitter. I'd be curious to see what that update does for that phone, that standalone 5G piece. A lot of people did report that latency did improve a little bit. I don't know about the distance improvement they were talking about. But according to T-Mobile, the standalone 5G updates allegedly improve the 5G coverage with band 71. It's supposed to improve latency, and it's 20 to 30% lower. And they are saying that speed should improve by 30% as well. So if that is indeed the case, it is definitely worth upgrading the software. So check that out in your systems, see if that's available to you, and make that happen. All right. This next piece, this one actually is kind of like the first actual news story for today. So, and this is pretty crazy. So last week, or earlier in the week, I should say, AT&T was kind of throwing around this idea, and this is coming directly from the CEO of AT&T. So this is not hearsay. This is not, rumor mill. This is like legit coming from the CEO of AT&T, John Stankey. AT&T wants to offer a subsidized version or discount option of their phone plans for customers who may be willing to take on advertising loads on their smartphones. So CEO John Stankey came out and said, hey, there's a segment, there's a population of our customers that are apparently willing to take on these ads, and in doing so they can get a $5 or a $10 discount on their line. So that being said, this news found its way to the U.S. Senate. This is where things get interesting. This could be a big problem once the Senate is involved, because obviously government regulations is something that could get in the way and possibly derail this advertising ambition for AT&T. What the senators are saying is they're basically indicating that they want AT&T to completely pull the plug on this thing. They do not want them doing any form of additional advertising on smartphones. Now, it's one thing to launch an app and you start getting ads based on the services and stuff that's built into the application. But I think what AT&T wants to do is either on your lock screen or on your home screen when you unlock your phone, basically you would, to get the discount, whether it's $5 or $10, whatever it is, you would be seeing a certain amount of advertisement. And they're indicating that, I don't know if they've got like a survey that they put out and they started analyzing the data and the feedback. They say that people are willing to do this. So the Senate's basically saying no way. This should not be happening. Don't even consider it. Don't think about it like this. Just put an end to it. They want to pull the plug on it. So the concern for the Senate, they're citing privacy. And what this kind of comes into play is probably a situation where it's more about privacy, I think, more than anything. So what happens is when you've got additional access from advertisers to like smartphones and users, could be a situation where some information could become compromised. And it could be very personal information. It could be private information. It could just be information that you should not be able to mine for, right? Because that's what these advertisers could do. So regardless of the type of data, they'd be taking it, right? So the discount, $5 to $10 in exchange for the advertisements and the commercials or whatever the case may be, it's really not worth the privacy risk for a lot of people, and I can't blame them for that. Obviously, you would have to be opting in for the ads. You could always opt out and not accept it, the terms, right? They're not, and actually, you don't even have to opt out. It would just be like, yo, you want it, you're willing to take the discount, so you're willing to watch the ads. So it's not like it's going to be default and you have to opt out. That's not happening. But the AT&T company did respond to receiving senator-written letters, and AT&T did say that they would be responding to those senators, and that would be wise. Senators, when they speak, you better listen, right? I mean, they're kind of regulating things, And, the senators are expecting a reply or response by October 18th. Big shout out to Magenta Speed Testing. Thanks for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate you. In terms of what's going to be at risk here with these ads, I think the basic premise is, your phone, your calling, your messaging, your internet records. They could be spying on your usage. They could be, there could be targeted malware and spyware. There could be different types of attacks and data mining. I mean, anything's possible when somebody is unnecessarily connected to your device, and they've gotten past all of your protections, and you've given them granular access to, your phone and stuff like that. That's what those apps do, So I don't know how transparent AT&T could be about this, but I don't think it's going to work. I think once the Senate says that's a no-go, that's probably going to stop that right in its tracks. Gene, thank you for the generous super chat donation. Appreciate you. Yeah, I don't see this working out for AT&T. I know they want to, right? I know that they are pushing for this new advertising thing. It's a way for them, obviously, to make additional money, having advertisers pay the difference of the subsidy and discount that they'll be giving customers. But no way, man. This is definitely a no-go. Once the Senate says hold up on that, put an end to it, it's probably done. So moving forward, I don't expect this to catch any type of movement. I think it's probably dead in its tracks. Don't be surprised if you get a follow-up from the SMT talking about how the program is dead. All right, so just wanted to throw it out there as an update. We'll probably be getting news on this on a secondary story upcoming. I will keep you posted. I will keep you updated here on the YouTube side and the podcast. All right, we got a couple more super chats. So Alex, appreciate you. ARG Tech, great job as always, bro, but I think they should let the people decide and the Senate should not get involved. Yeah, I don't like getting in the way of people's business. So I agree with you on that. I don't like to stop people from making money. The problem is if it is indeed a security risk, then that's enough to warrant a stoppage, in my opinion. So it really depends. I mean, and who thinks AT&T can be trusted? You know what I mean? So I have my doubts. I know others have their doubts. Carlos talked about it on the live stream Friday or whatever, I think it was. So hey, just my 2 cents. It may be too much to overcome once the Senate wants to block it. So that might be the case. Chanel 808 Life. Lawrence, thanks for the super chat, brother. Hashtag help the bear. And hashtag save the bear. Absolutely. Still looking for that bear. Let's see here. Info assistant said, just like Mike Sievert said, AT&T can have lower prices by just lowering prices. If that's what they want to do. Right, but they don't want to lower the prices. They got a lot of debt. So they're looking at improving their profitability. So What's up, Debbie? Good to see you. Glad you could stop by tonight. Live in a small town, not a lot of people, and I just got the Samsung 20 Note Ultra. I have 5 bars of 5G 99% of the time. I love it. So you must have a lot of Band 71 out there. That's good. Glad you're enjoying the service. Kathy says, I would have done it, but I didn't even think of the security risk, so probably not now. It's definitely legit. Teletext says, but aren't every other app doing the same thing with the ads? Yes, but I think what their concern is not the app, because you can granularly control what the app has access to. This would kind of be working through AT&T's access. I think that's how I'm seeing it. I would love to get more details. I mean, if this ends up going to court, that would be interesting. It is very intrusive, Caleb. And that's why I was saying, I wouldn't, if somebody could get a very valuable discount by showing ads, wouldn't it be better if it was a certain app and not exactly on the phone system? Because that's what I think this is it's going to be built into the actual phone operation, so you want to use your phone or you want to text, you're going to see an ad first, that kind of thing. I don't know. Touchy situation, I think. Barry, I don't know if it'd be battery drain, really. I don't know how it would be optimized and stuff like that. So, and Bill Tech and most people on the AT&T postpaid service have iPhones, right? A lot of people do. So, just something to think about. Yeah, Carlos, I'm with you, man. It would be crazy to watch or see an ad. I don't know if they're skippable. I don't know if it's for 3 seconds or 5 seconds. I don't know, man. Crazy. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go to the next story after I sip my chamomile tea. What is the next story? This one's pretty good. Story number 2. This one actually coming out of C-band, which is going to be a pretty big deal here moving into December. You guys got to keep in mind, it's already September 20th. We've got October, November, and then the second week of December, we have the C-band auction, 3.7 gigahertz. So where this story is coming out of is Intelsat, which is a satellite TV provider. They are finally saying that they are all set and they are ready to meet the C-band clearing timeline set forth by the FCC. There's a lot of money at stake here. If you can really quickly and effectively, take care of the decommissioning of C-band, if you're a satellite TV operator, they will pay you handsomely. So there's 10 billion reasons to get this done for companies that are currently using it in satellite TV. The FCC is enforcing an accelerated or fast-track decommission process timeline for the C-band spectrum that is currently being operated by companies like Intelsat and others. What they're doing is they need to decommission their spectrum, repackage it a certain way for wireless usage. So basically, we're going from satellite TV application to wireless auctioning in December. And the FCC has incentivized these companies, Intelsat and others, to properly do this. And if they can decommission it quickly enough in time for the upcoming auctions, which are on December 8th, 3.7 gigahertz, we're talking 280 megahertz of this stuff. Tons of it. And this is going to be a game changer for Verizon, AT&T, probably more so Verizon and AT&T, obviously. But we expect T-Mobile to do a little bit of disruption. Obviously, it would be wise, actually, for T-Mobile to probably get some licenses in markets where they want to do home internet. That would make sense. There's different things that the companies can do, but we're expecting national for most carriers. So Intelsat uses a large portion of the 3.7 gigahertz spectrum. I think it ranges to 3.9. Anyways, Intelsat also tried to convince the FCC, they actually publicly lobbied for the auction to actually go private. Obviously, that would have helped their profits on the resale of it. But that was to no avail. The FCC did decide to go public and auction this in December. So I did a video on this several weeks ago. Intelsat was complaining that they could not get the decommission and repackaging done in time to meet the deadline. in order to do it effectively, and then, be able to still offer a good quality service to their customers that were utilizing TV services. So I think what they were actually able to do is they were actually able to contract some outside help, from the outside to kind of come in third party and do the repacking and repurposing and stuff like that. So they are on track to get this done, which is great. So looks like that C-band decommissioning is that incentivized program that the FCC has is working. And Intelsat will have 5 billion reasons to get this decommissioning and repacking done. So they're going to get paid for this. The company has been concerned about serving its 100 million TV customers during this time, but it looks like they figured things out, and that should help, the auction in December. I think all things are a go. We're going to see kind of two phases to the auction. The first 100 megahertz are going to be auctioned, are also going to be deployed the soonest. So the first 100 megahertz, which is auctioned in December 2020, will actually be able to be deployed December 2021. So we're going to see some action from C-band as early as 1 year from now, which is great. Super excited about that. It would be awesome if somehow, some way, something great happened that we can get it sooner, but that's the expectation. And then after that 100 megahertz is deployed, shortly after, probably within a few months of that, so we'll say early 2022, we'll be seeing the other 180 megahertz be able to be deployed by Verizon, AT&T, and so on. The understanding is that Verizon is going to go big with these C-band licenses in most markets. Like, they're going national with it. So we shall see. I will be following that story. I'll give any updates if anything does come to the public. So we shall see where that goes. Let's see here. There was another story I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, this one's pretty good. I'm gonna take a sip of my chamomile tea though. I do want to give a shout out. I think there was a recent super chat. Big shout out to Sean. Said Ring Plus used to do this for free lines. Was an MVNO on Sprint. Yeah, never heard of that one actually. Thanks for the super chat, Sean. There's different ways to save money. Anytime there's like promotions or incentivized ways to go through ads or whatever, people can save money that way. But you got to think about what the side effects could be of that promotion or that deal. So yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, next story. Yeah, this one's gonna be funny. All right, so story number 3, and this one's kind of gonna wrap up the show, but it's gonna take a large portion of the show, so that's gonna cover a lot. A couple days ago, I did the podcast, and we were talking about the lie sandwich. Just a complete analogy, a joke, of things that wireless carriers say. I've said it time and time again. Don't listen to what they say. Always just watch what they do. Because what they do is often very different than what they say. So they'll say one thing, but in real life, in the real world, they do something different. Gene, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Let's take a look at some of the commentary that I did not cover in my last live stream podcast. So I did talk about it. I covered a couple of statements because I didn't want to cover all of it because it was going to take too much time. So I wanted to break it up into sessions, so we'll just call this session 2 of our deep dive into T-Mobile executives saying things that are not true. But the thing is in these lie sandwiches from these wireless carriers and their executives, like CEOs and CTOs and stuff, they occasionally sprinkle in truth. And here on the SMT YouTube channel and on our podcast, we like to call a spade a spade. So I have to sift through everything they say, analyze it, and then see where it fits into this liar sandwich. So we're going to take a look at quotes and commentary from Mike Sievert, the CEO of T-Mobile, and we're going to take a look also at what Neville Ray, the CTO, had to say over at the Goldman Sachs Investor Conference. So to be honest with you, I've given Neville Ray a really hard time, because he is the network guy, and really, if I could say there's one thing I would like to see change about T-Mobile, for the longest time, it's been the network, plugging in, areas where they have weak coverage or limited coverage, areas where they've relied heavily upon roaming agreements. I'd like that to become native So expanding their network and then also adding capacity to their network. And with the T-Mobile and Sprint merger, that's the goal, is to improve all of that. So big shout out to Cynthia just coming in saying, yeah, glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by. So let's take a look at CEO Mike Sievert. And we're going to look at his liar sandwich. So first things first, Mike Sievert basically hails the new T-Mobile as the best option for the U.S. wireless consumer. Okay, so little gray sweater vest, little cardigan, sweaty, nervous armpit stains, right? Uptight and out of sight. All right, he says that the new T-Mobile is the best combination of network assets and value pricing. Now, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with him making that claim, but it is a claim. There are some customers who would agree with him, and that's good, that's fine. There's some customers that would disagree with him. In fact, I think it's pretty well understood that the T-Mobile network is the most limited on a national scale. So if you were to travel from one side of the U.S. to another, I would say you would probably witness that. Anytime you usually go outside of well-developed cities, T-Mobile often struggles. Rural America is very hit or miss for the company. They are the youngest network. They are behind in their data network. So, you know, it's a work in progress, and that's what this merger was really all about. So I want to take a look at some of these other quotes that he offered. Thanks, Willie Watson. Appreciate the super chat, man. I really do appreciate that compliment. He said, Sneed, you are the best of all the tech channels. Thank you, man. That's really nice of you. I do my best, man. I don't know if I'm the best. I do my best. I try my best. I try to bring something good to the community and offer, you know, thoughtful insight and things like that. So try to call a spade and be as real as I can be about it. And hey, you know, we try to get it right. You know, that's what it's really all about. So thank you for that super chat. Appreciate you. To kind of look at some of this commentary, he said the number one reason people leave is network related. That, my friends, is true. So in the liar sandwich so far, the bun on the top, all right, or excuse me, the first piece of bread on the top, I should say, he said that the T-Mobile network is the best combo of network assets and value pricing. And their network assets are undeveloped. Right, they do have great network assets, but they are not yet deployed. So, liar sandwich on that at the top. But this part here, you know, the number one reason people leave is network related. That's true. So that's part of that truth sandwich. Secondly, is to seek value. So basically, what he's saying, number one is network. It's got to be good. If it's not, people will leave. Number two, they're looking for value. So basically, you know, getting a good deal on their service. So, like I said, it doesn't matter what type of deal you get if your service doesn't work. So if you have no signal or you have no LTE, or if you're having outages, which seems to be happening frequently these days, then what's the point of saving money if it's not going to work, if it's unusable, right? So that's kind of where that's at. So he's right. He is right. That is the truth. That's the part of the true component of the liar sandwich, okay? He went on to discuss the goals of the company. He cited three things. Number one, deliver growth faster than the entire wireless industry. Essentially, taking customers from competitors. Here's my problem with this statement. There's not much room for growth anymore. There really isn't. We lost a carrier, right, in Sprint, that was not growing any market share. And basically, you know, T-Mobile was taking a lot of Sprint customers over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. That is fact. A lot of the growth that Sprint would have had if they had a more competent network, grand scale nationally, T-Mobile was taking, because they were like, well, if my service is going to suck with Sprint, then I can't consider them legitimate. I got to leave. So they were going to try to stay competitive in pricing. You know, it's the truth. The T-Mobile pricing and the Sprint pricing was more similar than, say, like T-Mobile compared to Verizon or AT&T. Verizon and AT&T are very expensive, relatively speaking, to what Sprint was. Sprint was the bargain carrier. Sprint was the most affordable carrier. So anybody coming from Sprint was probably looking at T-Mobile as their number one option to get a slightly better network, but keep similar pricing and value. So in my estimation, when he says we want to grow faster than the entire wireless industry, that may not be possible. So not really part of a liar sandwich, but just unrealistic. And then to kind of take this one step further, not only do you have a limitation in that there's only 2 other competitors to compete with to take customers from, your network's not as good as theirs, nationally speaking. It's not as large. It's not performing well currently under root metrics. Later this could change, but I'm just looking at it right now. Now, the issue I have actually is the fact that you want to grow, but that could mean that you have to give away free lines, right? Adding lines is really just a tactic that T-Mobile has used in the past, and they still do it, to try to show growth. So if you have 2 lines, you get a free line. Your 3rd line is free. They're doing this now through September, and they've done this in multiple quarters. Anytime I feel like their quarter has been at risk of not breaking 1 million customers added, they've deployed the free line strategy. And it's always like, have 2 lines, you get the 3rd one for free. So, and currently with their network problems and the integration process, I'm not surprised that they brought it back. We've seen documentation on the churn numbers from T-Mobile, and it's pretty high. They're churning pretty bad. And I've looked at some of the numbers from AT&T and Verizon. Their port ins are very high. Customers are switching from T-Mobile to AT&T and Verizon, mostly Verizon, but still AT&T too. And then Sprint customers who were former Sprint and now T-Mobile, some of them are switching. So really, they've got to reverse that. That's got to be a priority. So the second thing is merger promises. He mentioned that. Mike Sievert said that they are trying to reduce operation costs within the network, within retail, and back office functions, and scale the business. I have no problem with that. That makes total sense. That's what a merger is really about. So yeah, that's a good goal, and that's fine to have that. The third thing he mentioned was focusing on the long-term picture, long-term success. As a CEO, this makes total sense. He's saying the right thing. That is exactly what he should be saying. And I really hope this is the case. Not borrowing from tomorrow is what he said, which basically means we're not going to act in haste. We're not going to spend, just willy-nilly on things without really being careful and considering all options. So they've always been this way. T-Mobile's always been very careful with money because they simply don't have it. They've never been a large carrier to spend large, right? They've always been the smaller carrier, and they've always been playing catch up as a wireless provider. So I don't want to call what T-Mobile's done in the last decade slow growth. It's really not. It's slow relative to the rest of the wireless market. When John Legere came to T-Mobile, their market share was like 10 or 11%. When he left, they were like 17%, right before the merger. So that's really good. That's nothing to sneeze at, when you look at the wireless market. It's really hard to put a dent into Verizon and AT&T's market share when they had bigger networks, right? It was very easy for them to have more customers. But T-Mobile did compete. Pricing, value, Netflix on us, all the Un-carrier moves, unlimited data, and so on. They really did a good job of that. But where's that organic going to come now? Where's that organic growth going to come from? It's just not there, right? There's new customers are not really a thing, like new customers into, postpaid service. They don't just pop up out of thin air. So the merger actually displays the limitation of the organic growth. They basically took on 50 plus million customers onto their network. So that's great. That improves their revenue, more money getting spent at their company. But yeah, I feel like so much of what Mike was saying, was like a 50-50 split, This is where things get interesting. And I did already kind of touch on this, but Mike Sievert kind of concluded saying this. He said Verizon jumped out in 2010 in the 4G era, and that became a decade-long pattern. They had the world convinced that they had the best network, and for much of that era, it was true. That's our opportunity in the 5G era. We're way out in front. So let me explain how the liar sandwich comes into play here. He said Verizon jumped out in 2010 in the 4G era. Actually, Verizon's network has been really good for a really long time, even before 4G and LTE. So he's wrong about that. Did they win the 4G LTE thing? Yeah, I mean, we could look back now and say, sure, yeah, Verizon has the most LTE, and their networks is quite fast in most cases. So, yeah, I guess they did win. Now, from 2010 to 2020, yeah, I'd say it's decade long. Then he said they had the world convinced they had the best network. Well, what do you mean convinced? These people were paying their bills and getting the access. So the customers spend their money where the service works. So, yeah, they were convinced. They were using it, and they had the most wireless customers and so on. You don't sell a lot of something if it's not good, right? Why do people stand in line for a pie at a world-famous pie bakery? The pie must be good, so Verizon's making the pie. You know what I mean? And that's why I said it's like a liar sandwich. And they're kind of backhanded comments too. But it's his competitor, so it doesn't really matter. He said for much of the era it was true, so he admitted that Verizon's network is great. And then he said that's our opportunity in the 5G era. We're way out in front. Yes, that is true. That's our opportunity. T-Mobile is in a good position with the 2.5 gigahertz that they have in most markets. They do have a couple of gaps that they're going to have to fill with CBRS and C-band, so with some 3.5 gigahertz and some 3.7 gigahertz, they'll fill those gaps. But for the most part, yeah, they are in a good position with their 2.5 gigahertz, but they still have to deploy that, and they have a lot of towers that need to be constructed. The goal is to decommission a lot of what Sprint has that's considered redundant, and then move that gear over to T-Mobile sites. And then they still have to construct and build more tower sites, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 macro sites. Now, they're going to try to do as much on rooftops that they can, but there's just no way around it. In some cities, they're going to have to build, and they're going to have to go up real high so that 2.5 gigahertz can reach and provide the capacity. But to say we're way out in front, with the network currently as it is, that's not true. If they execute in the future, then that could be true. That's why I say it's very much, with Mike Seaver, it's very much a liar sandwich. There's so much exaggerated and so much embellished, then yeah, it is kind of like, a liar sandwich. The last thing I want to speak to is actually Neville Ray commentary, and then that'll be it for the podcast. So, when Neville Ray was speaking, for those that don't know, Neville Ray is the CTO, the Chief Technical Officer of T-Mobile. He spoke about the network integration process. He provided an update. This is more about where the company stands in terms of the integration process and how things are going with the network, post-Sprint merger. Big shout out to Chucky Riggs. Thanks for the super chat. Liar sandwich with extra BS sauce. He said that T-Mobile will be adjusting the geographical footprint of the fused network. So the new T-Mobile network as a combination of two networks. What he means by geographical footprint, he means the operations of the tower sites, building the new tower sites, decommissioning ones they don't need because they're too close to other T-Mobile neighboring sites, or possible maybe they're on the same site, right? So they'll just operate X number of hardware and try to figure out what's best for their footprint. He said tower site manipulation, site overlapping, address their coverage gaps, and so on. Upgrading sites with new bands. What he means there is band 71, 600 megahertz, and also the band 41, 2.5 gigahertz. That is all true. Those are things they're going to have to do. I think when he mentions the rate at which they're going to upgrade, he spoke about 700 sites per week. Those will be the mid-band upgrades, so 2.5 gigahertz. That addresses their capacity needs. In my opinion, that's a little low. I think they probably want to kick this up a notch. I think he said that for a large majority of the next year or two, they want to be doing 5,000 sites a month. Well, that would probably require about 1,000 or more sites per week. If they're doing 700, that's a little bit lower. So in a week, if you're doing 700 per week, you're probably around 3,000 sites a month. So that's below where you said that you wanted to be when you're at your fastest pace. So I don't know if they're going to meet their goals. I know the goals were to have this all done within 3 years. He said that I think people will be surprised. They're talking about having it done in under 2 years. Just kind of looking at the numbers and looking at their CapEx and their expenditures, I just don't see it happening unless things were to change. Like if the spending was to change, that sort of thing. It's possible. So, but as of right now, he spoke to the number of Sprint customers that are on the T-Mobile network. He said, only 10% of the Sprint customers have been migrated to the T-Mobile network. He was quoted as saying, "We are off to the races. Thousands of site upgrades are going to be happening this year." So we've just got, 3 more months. So, we'll see how that plays out. He said this would include 40 of the major metropolitan markets in the U.S. Those 5G sites will have 8 to 10 times the speed. So, yeah, the 40 of the major metro markets are going to need those capacity upgrades. They obviously get priority. If the network is tanking in those areas, they're going to need that 2.5 gigahertz very, very soon. And hopefully they get it out sooner than even we know. As for the 8 to 10x speeds, right now, T-Mobile's network is kind of in a sketchy situation. So they're averaging like 20 megabits per second national. If they were to improve speeds by 10x, they'll put speeds at 200 megabits per second, which I think is a little low for how much spectrum they have with 2.5. So hopefully they're saying maybe 10 times faster than like 40 megabits per second. Maybe that's their standard. I don't know. He didn't clarify. Because then it would be like 400 or 500 megabits per second, which would be amazing. That's a 5G upgrade worth noting, if that was the average speeds. Because when you've got the potential to have huge channels of 2.5 gigahertz, remember, they've got 160 megahertz of this national. If that is going to be the case, you can make massive sized channels and run multiple carrier aggregation to achieve much faster speeds than just 200, 400, or 5 megabits per second. Even with network strain, it should be over that. So we'll have to see. We'll see how it executes. It's easy to jump the gun and say, what is he talking about? But again, I think they're shooting for the stars. I think their goal is to do as many upgrades as possible. I don't know how realistic it is according to their money spending. We'll have to wait and see. But the rate of the 2.5 gigahertz deployment, there's a couple of factors there. Number one is how many markets get it in total. And then I think also, and this is probably the most underrated or underappreciated item, it's not cool to just put a few sites with 2.5 gigahertz. We want to see T-Mobile do this on a large scale in those major metropolitan areas. So, we want to see a dense network. We want to see clusters of towers with 2.5 gigahertz. So, your 2.5 gigahertz grid needs to be dense, in a place like the CLE, which is a mid-market. But what about a place like New York City? And what about a place like Miami or Houston? Southern California has some pretty big markets. You got San Diego, you got LA, go up north a little bit, the Bay Area. These are places that could really use these capacity upgrades. It really, it just depends on that. Those are the major factors. And I think the other piece is 600 megahertz is still not done. So every tower site that you do with 2.5 gigahertz, I think you need to strategically also consider, do the neighboring sites have 600 megahertz, the band 71? And that should be just as important. And in most cases, maybe you should deploy band 71 on every site, just for that extra 10 or 20 megahertz that could provide more capacity. Also keep in mind that California, according to the CPUC, T-Mobile's going to have to get to 300 megabits across the entire state. And there are places where T-Mobile wants to do home internet and broadband. You're going to need all the spectrum you got to do that. And it's only going to improve the network experience for consumers. You're not losing. Just deploy the suckers, right? Get as many bands on as many sites as possible. Aggregate as many carriers as you can. Make the experience so good that customers will flee AT&T and Verizon because you've got the capacity and you've got the speed and you can do all of that. So again, these are commentary that are designed for investors. We got the liar sandwich in full effect. You got a little bit of truth. You got a whole bunch of exaggeration and lying going on. So you just gotta, you gotta call it like it is. And that's what we try to do here on the SMT podcast. We try to call a spade, sift through all of the BS and the exaggerations and the lies and try to find out what's true, what's realistic, and what's really going on. So that kind of wraps up the audio-only version of the podcast. We'll be hanging on here with the YouTube. So, yeah, that's kind of how I take the commentary. So that, I mean, I covered pretty much everything I could from the commentary. Teletext says every site will get 602.5 in cities unless it's physically not impossible to add more antennas on the tower. Yeah, so if it's like a weight restriction or a spacing issue, I would assume Teletech, if that's realistic. Stetson, man, good to see you, bro. Man, awesome show the other night. It was great, bro. I was in your live stream, man. It was nice. Kind of fun to see you on there doing a live stream. I'd never seen you do one before, so maybe that was your first. Yeah, Stetson, appreciate the super chat. And yeah, man, I really do hope T-Mobile is hearing customers. Curious to see where their network stands in 4 to 5 years. I think it's a totally different network. I think it's unrecognizable in 4 to 5 years. I think we're talking about a network that has so much capacity and speed. The home internet's no problem, you know, and they're going to help a lot of people with that. You know, areas that maybe aren't being served well by home internet providers and ISPs. A lot of places don't have municipal fiber. A lot of places don't have AT&T fiber and Google fiber and all of those things. So, yeah, I want to see those types of things happen for people. And, you know, if they're part of that, that'd be great. You know, I'd love to see that. Alan says T-Mobile won't be around in 4 to 5 years. I hope that's not the case. Tito says hashtag call spade a spade. Yep. Mike West says hashtag mod squad, hashtag form Voltron. Nice. Carlos chimes in, come on, by the time they are getting decent, Verizon and AT&T would be 10 steps ahead as usual, and it's sad when you get free stuff all the time, they won't ever win. I hope the gap isn't that big, though. You know, like if that is really the case, I don't want to see them that far ahead. I want to see a level playing field. I think the best case scenario is Applewatt says don't listen to me. Yeah, see Teletech, that's true. You guys have valid commentary. 4 to 5 years from now, Verizon and AT&T will have complete deployment of C-band. So that, yeah, I expect all of them to have really, really high capacity networks. What's up, Technoid? Good to see you, man. Caleb's times in. We need to milk ants in California. It's gonna be tough to do California, man. Keon says, I think T-Mobile is going to surprise a lot of people. They might surprise some, but honestly, if they build a highly capacitive network 4 to 5 years from now, I wouldn't be surprised. No, I wouldn't be surprised. They've got the resources to do it. It's going to just all be about execution, and hopefully their revenues keep up and they're able to continue to pump money into the network build. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Chucky, thank you for the super chat, man. T-Mobile will have growing pains first. I couldn't agree more, dude. Seriously. So true. There's going to be growing pains. There will be outages. I'm expecting at least one more outage this year. In fact, every time there's a massive migration, there runs a risk of outages. And that's just inevitable. I think, you know, because you still, like, Sprint's got 50 million customers. Only what'd they say, 10% of customers have migrated over to T-Mobile? That's 5 million customers. There's still 45 million to be migrated. So there's gonna be pains, dude. It's gonna be very, very difficult. Paul chimes in 5 years, hopefully we have more variety for service, different levels, network slicing, you know, plans. Yeah, totally agree. Josh chimes in, new T-Mobile equals Sprint giving out free lines every day and regional coverage. I hope not, dude. I don't want another Sprint. I do not want that happening. Not at all. Carlos says, Verizon using CBRS panels they are installing now, which are split and will be able to use C-band. Awesome. That's great. In the same panel, and if they will need licenses, even radio heads will be installed. That's awesome, man. Love that. Great news. All right, so that one out of Verizon. That's fantastic. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to kind of wrap up the show here. Mikey, Tech Review, appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat. Doing well. I hope you are as well. Also, let me go ahead and just say thank you to everybody who's here to watch the live stream version of the podcast. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for viewing my videos, viewing these live streams. I appreciate you also. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it to your favorite socials. Hashtag 2LiveCrew if you're watching this in the live. Hashtag Replay Crew if you're watching this later. Hashtag Ravioli Gang if you were eating during this podcast or you're hungry and you're about to eat. And hashtag Mod Squad, hashtag Form Voltron. All my moderators holding it down for me in the live chat, keeping things civil and keeping things kosher. If you're lurking, or maybe this is your first time here on the channel, consider subscribing and activating the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. And do check out the SMT Patreon page if you're looking to take your wireless network coverage to the next level and get additional access, early access, more live streams and podcasts like this. We've got it all there on the Patreon page. Link is in the description box below. Thank you all for watching. Again, you are the best part of what the SMT Nation is. It is all about the people. And thank you again for supporting. We hope to see you soon on the next show. Hopefully we have something midweek. I would love to have some good news to report. So hopefully that's on deck. You guys are the best. I am the SMT, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace. Yeah.